Okay, so for the topic for today's video is if you want to be on the top of your industry or whatever it is that you do, you have to be messy at times. Let me explain. Before you want to achieve goals in your life, and the goal that you might have is to dominate in your industry, to be the figure of authority that everyone perceives that, oh, you're competent in your field. And you might realize that in order to achieve that set goals, there's a lot of groundwork that you need to cover beforehand. It is very important to enjoy the process, as everyone might say, even if it's not the most glamorous thing in life. Over the past few weeks, I have been working on acquiring hard skills. And the biggest challenge in acquiring hard skills is that it is very messy. It is very complicated at times. And it sure as hell is very hard to focus when you have a lot of things to cover. But there's this gap. There's this divide between where you want to be and where you're at now. It all falls back to when imposter syndrome kicks in. When you discuss a lot of things with the people who actually know what they're talking about, that is when you are tested. That is when your knowledge, the experience that you have will back you up. But when those things are not covered, let's say, when there's a lot of things that you don't understand, when you're not up to date with what is currently going on in the industry, that is actually the biggest predictor of where you are actually at the minute. And look, the problem is a lot of these skills that you need are very repetitive. They are very frustrating at times because you might be just throwing crap on the wall and see which one sticks. And maybe a lot of things that you acquire skill-wise, that is, are things that seem to be unrelated. Let's talk about Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs wasn't just a very good engineer. He was a visionary. He tried to combine a design aesthetic into their brand, into Apple. He combined both typography, which seemed to be something so unrelated to the world of engineering, and created the brand Apple, which we all now come to recognize. And in these hard times of actually doing the groundwork, going down in the trenches, and acquiring set skills, which you might not even realize the value of them in the very near future, you have to find ways to stay motivated. And what are the ways that you might find to help you stay motivated? It all comes back to the small wins, let's say. For example, if you're doing a course in Udemy, it is very important to acknowledge that this skill that you're trying to acquire is very valuable in the grand scheme of things. And you might have to pat yourself in the back when you're finally done with the course and say that, okay, now that I am somewhat knowledgeable in this skill that I'm trying to acquire, and I'm ready to take on the next one and implement this as well. You might also want to time block it in your life. Let's say you have this set of time during the day, set a timer for 2 hours and start working on set skills. One of my best tricks that I've always done is to do it as soon as possible, as soon as you wake up. Eating the frog, some might say. Every time before you go to bed, you have to set what it is that you are going to do, the hardest thing that you're going to do tomorrow. It can be exercising. It can also be working on acquiring these skills. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you become a figure of authority. In the industry I'm working on, am I a figure of authority? No, I wouldn't say so. There's still a lot of groundwork that I have to cover. If you think about it, true authority comes from experience. Corporations would very much rather hire people who are very experienced rather than people who are top students in their classes. Excuse me. It's almost as if they don't care how you get it. They just want to know if you can get it done. So before I end this video, I'm just going to drill this inside all of our skulls, including mine, that before you can boast about how great you are, you have to do the dirty work first. You have to cover a lot of grounds, and you have to bear with acquiring skills that might not seem to be related to what you're trying to achieve. Because the beauty of it is actually connecting things and see which scrap sticks together. To end it all off, I want to make sure that both of us can enjoy the journey and try to remind ourselves that the struggle itself is also part of the journey. So have a good weekend or week, everyone, and I'll see you when I see you again. Bye bye.